Chapter 5. What the Messiah has freed us for is freedom. Therefore stand firm and don't let yourselves be tied up again to a yoke of slavery. Mark my words, I, Shaul, tell you that if you undergo Brit Milah, the Messiah will be no advantage to you at all. Okay, so Paul is talking to who? Who's he talking to? He's talking to the Gentiles. And he says, if you undergo Brit Milah, which is circumcision, the Messiah will have no, he says, no advantage to you at all. So, verse 3, again, I warn you, any man who undergoes Brit Milah is obligated to observe the entire Torah. You who are trying to be declared righteous by God through legalism have severed yourselves from the Messiah. You have fallen away from God's grace, for it is by the power of the Spirit who works in us because we trust and are faithful that we confidently expect our hope of attaining righteousness to be fulfilled. When we are united with Messiah Yeshua, neither being circumcised nor being uncircumcised matters. What matters is trusting faithfulness, expressing itself through love. Okay, so basically, Paul's saying here, he's saying neither circumcision nor uncircumcision matters. And I might add that when he says neither circumcision, he's not saying to the Jews, don't be circumcised. He's saying to the Gentiles, don't be circumcised. But he says, you know, if you're going to be circumcised, anyone who is circumcised is obligated to follow the entire Torah. Okay? Which is sort of a kind of a reference to conversion to Judaism, you know. But what does he say? There's neither Jew nor Gentile. Just like there's no Gentile, there's also no Jew. So why is everybody trying to make Gentiles Jews? Why is the Christian church trying to make Jews Gentiles? No, folks, there's diversity in the family of God. God's not asking the American Indians to, you know, drop their culture. You know, why would he ask his own people, the very people of God, the nation of Israel, why would he ask them to let go of an everlasting covenant he made with them? All right, let's move on. Verse 7, chapter 5. You were running the race well. Who has stopped you from following the truth? Whatever means of persuasion he used was not from the one who calls you. It only takes a little chametz to leaven the whole batch of dough. I'm confident that since you are united with the Lord, you will take no other view. And I am confident that the one who has been disturbing you, whoever he may be, will have to bear his punishment. As for me, brothers, I'm still preaching. If I am still preaching that circumcision is necessary, why am I still being persecuted? If that were the case, my preaching about the execution stake would offer no offense whatsoever. I wish the people who are bothering you would go the whole way and castrate themselves. Okay? Now, I want to emphasize here, Paul is an emissary to the uncircumcised. Peter is an emissary to the circumcised. Why? Why do they have two different roles here? Well, the answer is very obvious. Peter is an emissary to the Jews. But Paul also makes it very clear in other sections of his letters that the gospel is to the Jew first, then to the Gentile. Okay? So, what are we saying here? What are we saying? When Paul says, if I'm still preaching that circumcision is necessary, you want to put like a little, there's an intimation there. Necessary for salvation, necessary for the Gentiles, which it is not. Now, is it necessary for the Jews? The Jews are obligated to keep Torah. The Torah is their heritage. It's their family. Now, does keeping Torah save you? Does it give you salvation? No. That's another talk. But moving on. 13. For brothers, you were called to be free. See what he says right there? He's talking about the Gentiles. The Gentiles were called to be free, that is, from Torah. Were the Jews called to be free from Torah? No. For brothers, you were called to be free. Only do not let that freedom become an excuse for allowing your old nature to have its own way. This is key. This is key. Because a lot of people are like this. Aha! So how do the Gentiles know what sin is if they're free from Torah? How do they know how to be righteous? You need Torah to know how to be righteous. I want you to listen to this section right here. Verse 13, for brothers, you were called to be free. Only do not let that freedom become an excuse for allowing your old nature to have its way. Instead, serve one another in love. For the whole Torah is summed up in this one sentence. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you go on snapping at each other and tearing each other to pieces, watch out, or you will be destroyed by each other. What I am saying is this. Run your lives by the Spirit. Then you will not do what your old nature wants. For the old nature wants what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit wants what is contrary to the old nature. These oppose each other so that you find yourselves unable to carry out your good intentions. But if you are led by the Spirit, then you are not in subjection to the system that results from perverting the Torah into legalism. If you're reading other translations, it might say works of the law. And there's a reason for that. There's a difference between the Torah and the works of the Torah, which are legalistic works of the Torah. And so I just want to point that out. You want to get into the translation of this, the complete Jewish Bible, you're going to find that it hits it pretty good. No translation hits it all the time in every area, but this translation hits it pretty good for the Messianic community and all around. So let's continue. And it is perfectly evident what the old nature does. It expresses itself in sexual immorality, impurity, and indecency, involvement with the occult and with drugs, in feuding, fighting, becoming jealous and getting angry, in selfish ambition, factionalism, intrigue, and envy, in drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you now, as I have warned you before, those who do such things will have no share in the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, self-control. Nothing in the Torah stands against such things. I just wanted to stop here and just say this again. You notice how Paul says nothing in the Torah? If you're reading other translations, it says law. Nothing in the law stands against these things. But nothing in the Torah stands against these things. Why would Paul defend the Torah? If he's for the Old Covenant, if you want to call it the Old Covenant, if he's against it, then why is he speaking so good about it? All right. Verse 24. Moreover, those who belong to Messiah Yeshua have put their old nature to death on the stake, along with its passions and desires, since it is through the Spirit that we have life. But it is also through the Spirit that we order our lives day by day. Let us not become conceited, provoking and envying each other. Okay, so what have we read so far through these first 5 chapters of Galatians? Is Paul, he's the emissary to the Gentiles, and he's saying, don't be circumcised, which happens to be part of Torah. Okay? But here's the thing. Gentiles are not under Torah. Jews are under Torah. Paul lives Torah, continues to live Torah, and preach the message to the uncircumcision, while Peter preaches the message to the circumcision. Unfortunately, the diversity of the community, Jews and Gentiles, was always an issue from the beginning. And the Gentiles broke away and became what we know today as Catholicism and the Protestant Church. So, where are we now? We're us in Messianic Judaism, we're all trying to point these things out. We're trying to point these things out. We're trying to say, look, it's not about Jesus coming and abolishing law. Jesus didn't come to abolish the law. He didn't come to get rid of the old covenant. Whatever Messiah did was in addition to the promises and the covenants of God. And the Gentiles are part of that now. We're brought in, and we're not called to live a life of legalism, just like the Jews are not called to live a life of legalism either. Jews are called to live Torah, but not in legalism. It's just like Jesus said. There was many things that he said, Honor your mother and father. You're dishonoring your mother and father. Chapter 6.